At STC Insiso, we have developed a structure and process that considers the development, implementation, delivery and rollout of any training programme that you may wish to consider within your organisation. The process looks at 5 key steps, all of which consider what we can bring to the table, what your audience and learners can bring to the table, as well as you as an organisation as well. If we take a look at step 1 then, we need to firstly consider what is the actual target audience. And there are a number of different ways and tools and methods that we can do that, and that you can consider who exactly needs to be the subject of such training. You can consider things like health check tools, profiling tools and methodologies, as well as the need for the training and the learning, the level of prior knowledge that people may have, who may need to champion the programme, so on and so forth. What needs to also be brought to the table are things like the expectations that the programme needs to meet, as well as any, if at all, existing material that should be reviewed for effectiveness and context that may well be utilised within the programme before making a start with the actual development. So that's your starting point in terms of some preparation. Moving on to step 2 then, once we've established the existing material and indeed our target audience, we then need to think about designing up a complete package of material. Thinking about things like the identity and the style of all material, the development of objectives and indeed lesson plans for those within delivery roles, engaging visual presentations that are useful for the learners, activities and exercises that should be blended throughout, any student or learner material such as easy to use reference guides, takeaway tools, and indeed if required any end of programme assessment as well. Again, considering what should be brought to the table, our knowledge and experience of how people learn, different learning preferences, styles, methods, and the flexibility to develop material in a number of different ways. And of course making that engaging and fit for purpose for the audience. On the development of such material, there should also be a review at this stage which considers from an organisational rollout perspective, have we considered all relevant subject matter expertise for their input, how easy can we make access to relevant resources, and indeed do we need an actual steering group or a focus group to ensure that all objectives of the programme are met with the initial design of the full learning material. And again, this is a key step in ensuring the success of the overall rollout of your programme. Looking at step 3 then, everything that's been developed as a natural progression must then be thoroughly reviewed. This should include people from a potential focus or steering group as relevant representative testers who can look at the material from experience, from a context perspective to ensure that it's fit for purpose, and also what can be brought to the table from ourselves indeed would be our expertise within this space, indeed from a delivery and a rollout perspective. And as you can see, there are 3 or 4 key points which should be considered and structured as part of a thorough walkthrough review to ensure that nothing is actually missed. For example, the validity of all content, the use of a proven delivery format, the sense checking of all activities and tools that are going to be used or considered as part of the programme, and of course fundamentally, does the programme actually meet its objectives? And we can really only achieve that by use of a dedicated focus or steering group. So that's the next key step then, is to ensure the programme is thoroughly reviewed for all component parts. Looking at step 4 then, we now need to consider how we raise awareness of the programme and actually get it into a position where it can now be used ahead of any actual rollout and delivery. Areas to consider at this stage would be how we raise awareness in communication, for example looking at things like posters, the identification of programme champions or leads, and early giveaway tools and devices as well that may also begin to raise awareness around the knowledge and indeed of course looking at the communication of your programme. So it's really all about raising awareness of it as early as possible to create that buzz around what's happening. And that can also be crucial when it comes to identifying your target audience as well. We've then got to consider the actual rollout and the delivery planning. How are things going to be done? When are they going to be done? Who's going to be involved? Any logistics or administration that requires to be considered as part of your program. And of course, what is really important is any reward and recognition for any potential learners who progress and successfully complete your program. And that really is an element that should not be underestimated. The actual materials as well need to be produced appropriately. Again, considering some of the previous steps around learner styles and preferences, there must be consideration given to how and in what format your materials will be produced. And there are some simple examples there. Is it paper-based? Is it going to be digital? Where does all of your content be stored? Who needs access to it? How easy is it to access it as well? All of these things can actually undermine a program if they're not considered properly. And finally, does your program require any train the trainer or train the coach methodology where you take complete internal ownership and become self-sufficient with your program? And again, with that, you need to consider who is best placed to perform that role, what's their delivery experience, do they have the confidence, the expertise, and indeed the capability going forward to actually deliver the program effectively. That can be a very, very beneficial part of any program, having that internal capability. However, there are some dangers with that as well in terms of selecting the right people. Again, ensuring that you seek any specialist help with this can also be key to ensure that you've considered all possible outcomes. And the final step is really the regular and ongoing review and evaluation. In our roles and positions as learning and development enthusiasts and specialists, then of course we're always going to be considering different tools and methods for the ongoing review. Has our program actually met its objectives? Is it fit for purpose? How do we review that from a learner perspective in terms of fit for purpose for their role? Are they actually utilising their new knowledge, skills in the workplace in a practical sense? Are we as an organisation giving them the opportunity to do that? It's all very well and good creating an effective training or learning programme. However, if we don't offer up the right conditions and opportunities in the workplace for people to actually implement new things or indeed change, then ultimately we're going to lead to things like skill fade or learning fade. And that's going to again undermine the quality of your program. So we've really got to think properly about how we review the actual performance of the program. And again, you can think about things from both a quantitative and a qualitative perspective as well, with utilising a variety of different tools and methods in the evaluation space. So that's a nice and simple overview of our training process that we consider when we roll out any training or learning and development program, and feel free, of course, to utilise this for your own programs as well.